So I chilled my mushroom soup overnight, and now I'm going to blend it up so it'll be nice and smooth. So our soup is all blended up, and instead of straining out all the vegetables that we use to flavor it, we just blended them up, so we're not only getting the flavor, but we're also getting the fiber in there. Now, it is cream of mushroom soup, so we do want it to taste a little bit creamy. So I have here some fat-free half and half, and I'm just going to add about a quarter cup into that mixture and just whiz it up. And then we're going to get going on our mushrooms to put back into the creamy soup, and some onions to put into the casserole and on top. Look how silky that soup is, and it tastes so creamy and decadent. So you think about what's in green bean casserole, and we already have our mushroom soup, and you usually mix in those French fried onions. So instead of using those, I'm going to use a shallot. Okay, this is what a shallot looks like if you've never used one. It kind of looks like a mini red onion. And you just want to chop off both ends and make a little slit down the side and just peel off that outside layer. And since I'm just making a small casserole for myself tonight, I'm not making my whole big one for Thanksgiving yet. I'm just going to use one shallot. But when you make your big green bean casserole for Thanksgiving, you probably want to use 3 or 4 shallots. Okay? So now that I've got that peeled, I'm just going to slice it into kind of thick rounds. And I'm going to use half of this to put in the casserole and half to put on top. So half of my shallots I'm putting onto a baking sheet. And I just sprayed the baking sheet and the shallots with some non-stick cooking spray. And I'm just sprinkling a little bit of salt and fresh cracked black pepper. And I'm going to toss that into my oven, which is set at 350 right now. And those are going to roast and caramelize in the oven. The other half of my shallots I am going to saute in my skillet along with my sliced mushrooms, and I slice them pretty nice and thick because when they cook down they kind of shrink, and we want those nice big chunks of mushrooms in the casserole. So the mushrooms are nearly ready. I'm just going to hit it with just a dash of soy sauce. I'm going to boost up that mushroom flavor. And a little bit of chopped sage. It smells great. So I'm ready to assemble my green bean casserole. I'm going to get my mushrooms and my shallots into my casserole dish. I'm just going to mix everything in here. Save myself a step and a dish. Okay, now I know you've heard me say over and over and over, fresh, fresh, fresh. However, at this time of year, green beans aren't looking so hot, and when you get frozen green beans, they're picked at the peak of freshness and they're flash frozen, so you're going to get all the nutrients that you would if they're picked right off of the farm. So, and all the work is done for me, so I'm just going to use my frozen green beans, and I have let this thaw in the refrigerator so I don't even have to thaw them out. So I'm just going to pour them into my baking dish. Pour my mushroom soup over that. Mix it up. It's going to go in the oven at 350, and it's going to bake until those green beans are nice and tender. And in the meantime, we're going to work on our topping, and we're going to add that in at the last minute so it stays nice and crispy. So my shallots have come out of the oven. Look at the beautiful color on those. What onion out of a can could beat this. So our green beans are nice and tender. And everything's coming together in there. So I just toasted some panko breadcrumbs on the stovetop in my skillet. And then I added the chopped shallots into that mixture. Now I'm just going to pour that on top. And that's going to give us that nice crispy oniony texture that we're looking for on the top without adding a ton of extra fat and calories. Okay, as soon as I get those on there, I'm going to toss it back in the oven for just a couple of minutes, and then we're done. So our casserole is out of the oven, and I'm just going to taste it, and these are all for me, so I'm going to dig right in. It's really hot, so just be careful. First thing you taste is that burst of onion flavor and that crispy texture on the top. And then you get down to that rich mushroom flavor. This is so good. It totally beats anything out of a can. I hope you try it, and I hope you join me next time on Sing for Your Supper.